All right. This is my guy. This is my guy. Anthony Cannon played for the Detroit Lions. Was drafted in 2016 or 2006. Uh, Played with Calvin Johnson. Played with Dan Campbell. Talk about it a little bit, brother. What do you got going on there, Anthony? What do you got going on?
Oh man, nothing
How
much.
you been doing?
I've been doing all right, man. I'm just here in Toronto. I'm headed back to the States. Uh, Here in January, I'll be coming back there for extended amount of time. But yeah, I've been here for the last 12 years, man. Just training athletes, coaching football here, developing players, and trying to help the young athletes chase that dream of playing at the next level.
So, John, take it away here. I'm going to go and produce again here.
Yeah, absolutely, Anthony. I'm just curious. Have you been keeping tabs a little bit on this? Obviously, this Lions team. You look at it; it's real interesting too because it's a team that is on the rise. It's still in a rebuild, but this fan base is clamoring for what we haven't had, obviously. And how hungry this fan base is, and how they want desperately to win a playoff game, and how they want to be able to cheer on this Lions team at Ford Field and have success in the postseason. And they started off strong, but as of late, you can see the defense is not exactly where it needs to be. And the Dan Campbell called the last game undisciplined. Not something we want to kind of hear going into December, because we all see NFL teams that start on the climb. They want to be peaking in December. What's your sense of the Lions team? Have you been paying attention to what's been going on this season, especially with Dan Campbell and what he's been able to do with the franchise?
Yeah, man. I've been following the Lions. I mean that's my team, man. I mean, win or lose, they're the team that drafted me and gave me a chance to play the NFL. So that's my squad, man. But this year, um, I've been been a little bit skeptical, I'd say, from a defensive standpoint, particularly when we play running quarterbacks. We saw it back when we played the Baltimore Ravens. Um, Jordan Love, he gives us fits. And then also you see it with um, with Fields out there in Chicago, man. And I just think that um, defensively, to your point, we have to be able to stop giving up big plays. I think that's one of the main things right now that kind of shoots us in the foot is the amount of explosion plays that we give up defensively, and uh, it forces the offense to go out there and be one dimensional. And I don't think we're built to go out there and have Jared Goff, you know, throw 35, 40 passes. I mean, he can, but the more opportunities that he has out there, obviously he's had turnover problems these last couple weeks. But when you're getting into December, your run game needs to be something that you feature. I think, and when you're giving up points on defense, like big explosion plays where you're giving up quick touchdowns, you're forcing yourself to kind of get away from that, and which I think is our strength right now is an offensive line, which is starting to get back healthy. I mean, Montgomery, he's running the ball like a madman back there right now, and um, I really feel like we got to kind of get back to that and um, give the defense a little bit of a rest. Um,
Yeah, absolutely. I have to get your perspective. Obviously, you played under Coach Marinelli, and obviously in 2008, the team went 0-16. I just have to get your perspective. What was it like for you being a part of that? Because when you looked at and you recap that season, obviously, would have paid attention deeply to that season. Obviously, it was a team that obviously would play well during stretches, but just always would end up falling short. It was a tough year all the way around, capped off by that final loss. What was it like being part of that season? I know Coach Marinelli, had his strengths at times, but in the end, it just didn't end up working out. I'm just definitely curious what your perspective was on that 2008 season.
Man, it was a grind. I'm not gonna lie. It was it was tough going in and week out, practicing every week, and just falling short. I think that year we lost. Games we lost that year were by 7 points or less. Some of those games, so you put in a lot of work week in and week out, and you go out there to battle with your teammates. You want to come away with the win. And unfortunately, that year we just couldn't pull one out. But it's funny, man. The year before that, we started out the season 6-2. At the halfway point, we're 6-2, and we wound up losing, I think, 7 out of the next 8, maybe. And it kind of brings me back to that same mindset right now. Is we're as a team, they're not we're not able to finish in December, uh, and that's kind of been an ongoing trend. But I really feel like with the coaching staff that's there now, Dre Bly, who's someone that I played with as well, along with Kelvin Shepard. He's a linebacker coach there. He's he went to my high school. He played played at LSU when I went to Tulane University, so we have a connection. I think they have the right guys there, from a player standpoint and a staff to kind of pull it together. But these next few games are going to be a big test.
Yeah, no doubt it's going to be a big test. Curious with the panel as well, starting with Anthony. When you look at the Lions defense, a lot of talk about AG, a lot of talk about Aaron Glenn and his schemes and things like that. I look at it from the perspective of I think the Lions are an offensive team. They put a lot of resources on offense. They're trying to develop with a lot of young cats on defense. And at times, I think the defense is maybe getting a little bit too much blame when you look at the offense at times putting them in bad spots. I mean, Dan Campbell likes to go for it on 4th down, sometimes on the wrong side of the field. And when they don't execute, that puts a defense in a tough spot. And I think for AG, he's just trying to obviously make do with a bunch of young cats. You look at the secondary, obviously they don't have a true number one defensive back. You got young linebackers still developing with Alex Anzalone as the leader. I think that they're making do with what they have. I just think that for the Lions in today's NFL, it's really tough to be a top 10 defense. And from where they were last year, I don't think that it was realistic to expect them to go from the 32nd ranked defense all the way to top 5. But I think when you look at what they do well, they stop the run. They're physical. I do think at times when they don't force turnovers, it makes it a lot more difficult. They do give up a lot of big plays as of late. But I think the defense is on an upward trajectory moving forward with the young talent as Brad Holmes continues to help out. I think maybe we can all admit that him not adding another piece to help Aiden might be the detriment for this year. But I do think that when you look at Aaron Glenn, there is the making of a defensive philosophy. I just don't think that there's enough talent yet that has been out there. And when you lose Aleem McNeil, that's going to be a definite struggle. But I think AG is getting a little bit too much criticism. Yeah, there's some things that can be improved, but I think that that defense has some pieces that in a year or two might be able to show out a little bit more than they're doing right now.
Yeah, well, I to just but Bruce Irvin, he's a recent signee. We just signed him, and I think that he's going to add a lot of depth to that D line. He's another guy who I'm very familiar with. He went to my high school as well. So adding someone like Bruce Irvin, who's a veteran, he's played on a lot of teams, but he does add an additional, I think edge pass rusher with some experience, to kind of complement Aiden Hutchinson. So I think that could be a good addition late down the stretch here.
I'm willing to give AG one more year with clear weapons, clear indicators. You have Alex Anzalone, who's had a fantastic season, and even when Alex Anzalone was hurt for like 1 or 2 games, or I think it was 1 game really, but even when he was hurt, we saw Jack Campbell really emerge and have a great season. Now, we haven't put a first round pick into a defensive tackle. We've haven't put a first round pick into a cornerback. And we see those are points of issues, points of contention. You've drafted 4 defensive tackles, and you got one with great production. Onwuzurike, unusable. I don't know how to say his name, but he's not there. He's not showing up. His back again has been an issue. He didn't quite fit the scheme when you first drafted him. Aleem McNeil was a spot-on dog. Aleem McNeil is also okay. I think he's good. I think those numbers are a little bit inflated. But at the end of the day, I feel like, the players that you've drafted on that side of the ball aren't going to warrant AG getting fired. So when you bring in, the Terrell Suggs of the world, when you bring in the T Sizzles, when you bring in the real dogs, that's when we can actually have a discourse about AG hire or fire. Because you can make a job like Saleh did out of the defense of the 49ers. Saleh made a job out of the defense of the 49ers, that defensive line that had 4 first-round picks on the line and played that Seattle zone. And then D'Amico Ryans came in, added a little more blitz to it, and you can make a job. So I think that the talent is the key, talent and technique, but also that 4-2-5, you got to get rid of that. We wanted to see less goofy zones. We got less goofy zones, and guess what happened? Down the seams, people getting lit up. So I think that Aaron Glenn, I'm willing to give him one more season. I'm also willing to give, Brad Holmes some time to find the actual right pieces in the game, because he's found some quality pieces on the offensive side of football. But we should be at least a top 15 ranked defense next season, because I remember making a video when we was top 8 and shutting down the run and all that stuff against those pretend teams. Everybody was cute. We're 2-2. But yeah, we played some pretenders in the beginning of the season, and now we see where the defense falls, and we can't properly fire him for that. But we have 3 seasons of the same thing. The only thing bailing him out is that we haven't invested.
Yep, I agree. How's it going, Cannon? I want to just touch on a couple things with the team that I have noticed. I do believe this team plays really tight on both sides of the football, and that goes a lot into this is something I don't know if it's by design, because a lot of things that we hear from Dan Campbell, head coach Dan Campbell, and his post game pressers and his pressers on Mondays are some of the same things we heard back in year 1 about the team not having a large margin of room for error. When one thing goes wrong, it kind of throws everything off. I think some of that goes into the fact that they don't have a lot of high-end talent on the defensive side of the football. You can question some of it on offense as well. I believe Penei Sewell is probably their best overall player, even though I do believe St. Brown is on his way up there as well. But this is a team that plays really tight. They don't get a lot of easy touchdowns on offense. Even some of the worst offenses in the league, some of the worst teams in the league still get gimme touchdowns. And I make the NBA comparison to a team that plays half-court basketball, doesn't get any easy baskets in rotation. Everything is just half-court, hammer, 75, 77-point games. And when you play the way we play offense and you don't really attack teams outside the numbers on the perimeter, everything is so congested inside, and you want to run the ball first, run the ball second, which is by design how they're built. You need some gimme touchdowns. And when you don't get too many easy gimme touchdowns and everything is forced to be 11, 12, 13, 14 play drives, you're forcing the quarterback and everyone else to be perfect damn near all the time. Whether your offensive line is elite or not, they're not going to be perfect every single Sunday. And Cannon, as I know you pretty much know for sure, offensive lines break down. No offensive line stays healthy for 16, 17 games. That's just how it is. And when one part of the defense or team, one position group breaks down or has injuries, some other group has to make up for that. And if you look at them on defense, it's no takeaways. This team is bottom half in the league in takeaways. I don't think the defense has been as bad as some people think it's been. They've held their water in some situations, but when you do give up a lot of yards and you will give up an occasional big play from time to time, it's rough. And then you counter that with the offense putting you in short situations, constantly having to contain with short fields. So I'm going to put it like this. I think defensively, if they can figure out a way to make more plays, and I want to ask you this because you played the defensive side of the ball. Is it really a defensive coordinator's job, or is it even his? Does he have any ability to generate turnovers? Because at the end of the day, you can put guys in the position to make plays. Guys are either going to make plays or they're not. Guys are either going to make plays on the football and take the ball away or they're not. Guys are either going to reach in, punch balls out, get strips, recover fumbles, get to the quarterback or they're not. And if you look at the Justin Fields, for example, this past Sunday, they were in position multiple times to get him for a loss, and guys just couldn't close the deal. So, in your opinion, as a former defender, what can they do to make bigger plays? Because at the end of the day, you can have a defense that's 20th, 21st, 22nd in yards given up, but if you're top 10, top 15 in takeaways, that right there can give you an extra 2 or 3 wins in the season. So, in your estimation, what can they do possibly to make more plays on defense?
I mean, I'd say it's a mentality, man. It's a mindset, and uh, first of all, it's recognizing that like you're bringing it up, that they're not creating those turnovers, and collectively just doing whatever they can, to generate those turnovers. Whether it's getting more hats to the ball, everyone trying to get to the ball and have an intent when they do get to the ball to punch the ball, rake it out, kind of like that Chicago Bears defense back in the day with the Peanut Tillman punch. You got to kind of drill that stuff in practice, man, and so it becomes a habit. So from a defensive coordinator standpoint, I feel like that's something that you could do, to help create those habits. But from a X's and O's standpoint, I don't think there's any calls you can make to guess what is going to happen on a particular play and put someone in a position to be there to make an interception. When you look at the Chicago Bears defense, you got guys over there who are in position to make the play, and the ball is just going through their hands, right? So you can also make that point as well. But when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, you just got to make plays, man. And I've heard this over and over. We haven't really invested in the secondary when it comes to big name players over there in the secondary. So I think once you start getting those type of players of that caliber, then this would be a different conversation.
That was kind of what I wanted to touch on too, because you played with a couple of them, matter of fact. Dre Bly was a ball magnet.
Yeah,
he had it. Some guys just have it. Glover Quinn was a ball magnet. Some guys just do it. Ed Reed, like some guys, even a guy that we got to play against Saturday, and Justin Simmons, he's a ball magnet. Some guys they study, they know their keys, they have the hands, they have the confidence to make plays.
Mm-hmm. And you made another point. You said that they play tight. All right. So on defense, when you have young players and you don't have the experience, you do everything by the book.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes, man, when you're a playmaker, you might just do something that isn't, on paper the way it's supposed to be, but you just took a chance, right? And with experience, you're gonna know. All right, risk versus reward. Do I have the ability to take a chance on this? Can I undercut this? Do I have help over top? But if you don't really understand the defense, or if you're new to the defense, or you're not comfortable with the guys you're playing with, you're not going to take those chances as much. Particularly when you know that your offense has put you in a position where you're backed up, and you got to kind of hold your water so we don't give up a touchdown.